This is Plus TV Africa. I'm Elsie Godwin. We are one-on-one with Nigerian actor, film producer and director, the Pan-African filmmaker, Kunle Afolayan. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Elsie.
Okay, so quickly, I think it's safe for me to say you're interested in quality and not quantity.
Absolutely.
And what would you say is your defining factor when you're choosing to make a movie in regards to the story?
I mean, first thing is, you know, in film production, it's an industry that involves a lot of people. It requires expertise from a lot of hands in different departments. So most times it's not only the call of the director, you know, that makes you know, a film, you know, come out well. So every time I have a project, I first look at, okay, who am I working with, ranging from the crew to the talents. If you have bad crew, all right, yeah, it's going to affect, of course, the cast, and it's going to affect the outcome of the entire production. So I always ensure that I have the right hands, the right team, okay, you know, to work with, because that goes a long way in determining how the film will look. Then the foundation has to be the script, you know, a good script. And a script, I mean, because when a script is done, you have the first draft, the second draft, the third draft. You can go on and on, even up to 20 drafts. But there has to be a sync between the writer. That is, if the director is not also the writer, there has to be a sync between the writer and the director, you know, in determining what the message they really want to convey, you know. And a lot get changed on set, you know. So if you watch most of my films, then you read the original script, you realize that the director's touches have been added, you know, to the final finished product. So those are a lot of things I pay attention to. Okay,
it's interesting you mentioned cast, because I was speaking with Daya Musa recently, and she talked about how she was almost stereotyped in the industry. You know, I feel like we don't have enough directors who would want to take a chance on an individual to say this person can do this. I've seen you do it with Simi and a couple of other newbies in the Nollywood industry. You've done it with Toby Bakare too. Yeah. So what is the driving force behind that, and how did you train yourself to be able to see this talent? Okay,
you see, as a director, different director focuses on different aspects of production. Some directors only focus on actors' performances, and some directors like to focus on their frame and, you know, the lighting, the technical details. For me, I pay attention to both. And when it comes to talent, the kind of work we do does not have retirement, you know. So I like to bring back old actors who have been around for a long time, and I did that with Zebrodaya in Phone Swap. I did that with Sadiq Daba in October 1. The Mokalik, that is new. There's Papa Lolo, there's Alabi Yellow. These are veterans that haven't even been on set in like 20 years. You know, I like to bring them back. Then blend and match them with the so-called stars, you know, that we have now, if the script, you know, can accommodate such. And then the young upcoming ones, I also like to bring those on board. I did it with even Chidinma when we shot The Bridge. You know, you have talent and you have celebrities, and you have actors. For me, I like to go for talent. So once I discover you, whether you've acted before or not, I can really have you give me what I want. Even things you yourself don't believe you can do. And those are some of my strengths, you know, as a director.
But these people you mentioned, they have a good number of social media presence.
Yes.
Would you say this decision also comes from the business angle, thinking, okay, their platforms would create a level of reach for your platform?
Yeah, I'll say yes to an extent, but most times most of them are not even available to push the film, you know. So if you're just looking at how much presence they can bring, if you're basing your your content or your reason for casting them solely on that, then you're making a big mistake. For me, Chidinma, for example, in The Bridge, I wanted to work with Chidinma on October 1, as far back as 2014.
Okay.
And then our presence wasn't that, social media followers were not that big. It's just because I saw her in the film, and also she keys right in, to the character. And when the opportunity came, I decided to give her that chance again. With Simi is raw, raw talent. And that's why I said, most times I settle more for talent. And then every other thing, quality can, of course, add to the reason why. But first, you must be talented. You must be able to give me, that, which will help the final picture, of the film. But it makes a lot of business sense if the person is good, at the same time has good followers, so that can also help, determining return on investment.
Okay, tell us a bit about Simi's role in Mokalik.
Simi is the, lead female cast in the film, and it's because the film, the film is very organic and it's natural to have a mechanic village where you have a booker, and she plays the daughter of the woman that sells food, at the mechanic workshop. And the film, the woman is Yoruba and Simi is Yoruba, so of course language won't be a problem, even though I had to really train her. Most of these kids of nowadays, we speak plenty English, but I had to really put her through, our best to, come out in the mother's tongue, at the same time, without compromising the quality of her acting.
Okay.
And she was the delight of all the guys in the mechanic workshop, So the story is more or less centered around her and the lead male actor.
Okay, let's talk about access to funding. In recent interview, you were quoted to have said financing movie projects is still a major issue in Nigeria. How serious is the issue of funding?
No, it's serious now. It's still. It depends on the level you want to go in terms of, have you ever seen any film shot and they come out to say that this film costs $100 million, $1 million here? No, but go and watch American films. They will say $45 million for one film. And it's because return on investment is guaranteed most times. The distribution structure in those territories, is strong enough to guarantee return. But here, Nigeria is still our primary market, all right? And when you say Nigeria, okay, even if we're talking about 200 million population, how many people can have access to cinema, which is also the primary platform, for ROI, distribution. Now we have VODs and all of that, Netflix, DSTV, they buy right. But after all of those sales, what does that bring to the table? So these days when people are trying to make film, they will first look at what they're gonna make, and that will determine how much they will want to invest.
Okay.
So it's not really about, I want to go all out, because I'm so passionate about this film. Because if you do that, it means you have to spend a lot of money. Now, when you now look at, okay, how do you make the money back? It becomes, so it restricts people. A lot of people's dreams are cut short. A lot of great ideas have to be doctored to fit into the economic situation, of the industry, that we have now. But like I said, you now have banks. In fact, CBN, Central Bank, just introduced a new intervention fund that you can get for, less than 10% interest.
Okay.
It's still a loan. So you have to also be business minded to want to take such facility.
Okay, I think we'll come back to the CBN initiative, but we need to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with our conversation with Kunle Afolayan. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Plus TV Africa, and we are still one-on-one with Nigerian filmmaker Kunle Afolayan. Before we went on that quick break, you were telling us about the intervention by CBN to help aid Nollywood. Yes,
you know, and this film, I mean, this fund is placed in, I think, almost all the banks, and if you have the right reasons, you know, to justify being given the loan, I think you can access it.
Okay.
I think the good thing about this is, I mean, you can't get such interest rates in any commercial bank, you know, and I feel that this is a good initiative by Central Bank. Before now, I think the past administration during Goodluck, they also did an intervention fund, which was a grant, and this was given to, that wasn't even a loan, it was given to filmmakers, you know, to do a lot of things, but you know, implementation is what I'm not sure was well done, but at least the government did their bit to support the industry, you know. So this is some of the areas that I feel seem to be helping in terms of funding, you know, for the industry.
This CBN loan, what does it take to be able to access this type of loan?
First of all, you have to really be a practitioner. You must have a track record, and then they will look at, okay, what have you done before? Because you have to return his loan. Any loan must be backed with the necessary documents and requirements. So if you have all these documents and requirements, I think you'll be you'll be granted a loan. Okay,
aside this CBN initiative, what do you think might be the solution to access to funding when it comes to Nollywood?
Maybe private investors, of course, but private investors will also want to, it's about money to a lot of people, but maybe government should also look at what, you know, the Jonathan administration did then by also creating some sort of grant, you know, for eligible people.
Okay, so in attracting private investors, you mentioned them. What is the gross margin of return on investment in movie production in Nigeria?
I don't know. It can't be determined because, see, the template we use here is different from what is known all over the world. Okay, like right now, Mokalik, we're having premiere of Mokalik, and we're saying, okay, come and buy a table that seats 8 or 10 for 1 million naira. Okay. We're only doing this because that is one way to at least recoup, you know, part of your investment. You know, I'm not sure if this is done in other places. Because ordinarily you should either sell ticket or open it up for guests and all of that. But how do you recoup your money? You know, we also do private screenings. You know, for Mokalik, we've done like 2-3 private screening for private organizations that will say, hey, come and show it to us, and then we'll pay you.
How about the CEO? Would you say you made your investments back?
I would say no, because I took a loan from Bank of Industry to fund that film, partly fund the film, and I haven't finished paying up. You know, and this is because sometimes you do projection and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't happen the way, because the BOI loan, for example, is 2 years. 1 year moratorium, and, you know, the second year you have to pay up. Film sometimes doesn't work that way, because you can go into production and things will happen, and in 1 year you haven't completed a film. We did a lot of things that have never been done before, like premiering film on the plane, you know, like having what's it called, Air France and all of that, you know, fly to Paris with 200 you know something people.
Even with all these strategies, you're still in debt for that.
Yes. So
what is the way forward?
The way forward is that the distribution platform locally needs to be expanded. I'm happy that the cinema chain seems to be growing, but maybe the terrestrial TV needs to be paying for content, because terrestrial channels in Nigeria don't pay for content. What they will say is, bring your film, give us your old film, then we'll help you advertise your new film. You know, and sometimes they will say, come and show your film and pay us. It's only in Nigeria that I know that happens. But a lot of VOD platforms are springing up, and I feel that as soon as the distribution platform is widened enough, then I feel that return on investment will be easier.
Okay, in solving the return on investment issue, I know piracy is one of the big issues also, and you were addressing the issue of copyright infringement in Nigeria in 2015 via a tweet just taken out of context, that aside. So right now, this is 2019. What is the situation of piracy in the industry?
It's still the same. And it's even worse because, see, a lot of times once a film is ripped, all right, and I'm not going to mention any online platform, but once your film is streamed online, it can be copied. Once it's copied, people have like MP4 version of it, and they put it on Flash. Some people even sell it on Flash. If you go to most of the Nigerian universities, they are the culprits when it comes to these things, because they copy it and they just share it around among themselves without paying a dime to the content owner. You know, so, and like I said, this is our primary market. Not until that infringement thing is sorted, it will continue to affect, you know, every content that is done. And that way, people will start compromising on quality. Nobody will want to spend big money because I mean, how would they recoup it back? So that's why I don't blame a lot of people who do low quality films, because not everybody can take a risk, you know, to go and make, a cinema film, and then you go to cinema, but if you make 50 million, what comes to you at the end of the day is less than 20 million, and then by the time you pay, you know, piracy is still playing a very key, I mean, negative role in the industry. Okay,
in dealing with piracy, what do you think the loophole is? Where does the problem come from? Where do they, aside the online platform, sometimes we don't see it online and it's everywhere, it's in Alaba, it's on the streets. So where do you think that loophole comes from?
Sometimes it happens, the leakage comes from the production house, because sometimes you have bad eggs, and you know, a copy can be taken by, you know, maybe an editor or someone in production, and maybe without negative intention, but out of carelessness, the film can leak, and that way it affects, the film gets, you know, leaked and is everywhere. Two, I mean, a lot of people used to copy through cinemas. I'm not sure, but I think that has been taken care of with this DCP thing. But with the DCP thing, it's human being that still will convert the film, you know, to DCP. So the human factor is still there. All right, and sometimes it's just from you sending a copy to an award platform for consideration, or festival for consideration, the film could also get leaked, you know, through that. So every filmmaker must do everything possible to protect their content in every way possible. Okay,
we need to talk about the role of NCC in all this, but that will be when we come back from this quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still chatting with Nigerian filmmaker. I like to call him the Pan-African filmmaker, Kunle Afolayan. Before we went to that break, I was going to ask you what the role of NCC is in all this. What are they doing?
What are they doing? I don't know. You know, NCC does not only handle film-related matters. You know, it's everything copyright, you know, music, books, you know, everything intellectual property. But as far as film is concerned, if they're really doing something, by now I think we should have put an end to what is going on. Maybe they are, maybe they don't have the right budget to execute, maybe they don't have, I'm really not sure, but I know that a lot of pirates have been arrested, and after a few months they're out. You know, some of them have been taken to court, and the process sometimes will drag 5 years, and the guy will be on the street, you know, pirating more movies, you know. So a lot of, I've been part of a delegation that went to Geneva, at the UN to talk about, piracy and all of that. And I know the law amendment, the law amendment has been done. I think it's been passed to the House, but it's just been there. So if there's strong, I think if there is strong law, that takes care of, that aspect of intellectual property, a lot of people will sit right. In some countries, it's death sentence. In some countries, they might say pay $1 million. In some countries, the law varies. You can, when you even go online and watch some of these films, they will tell you this film is not meant to, if you are found with one, even if it's, you're not the one that actually copied it, if it's in your possession and it's found, you can actually be charged to court and you have to face the penalty. If some of these things are put in place, I think a lot of people will sit tight. But because like I said, this is not only affecting the filmmakers or the content owners or curators, is affecting the entire economy of the country. Because the money that is meant to be, we pay tax. For example, if a Nigerian film is released in cinemas, all right, there will be VAT deduction, 5%. There will be entertainment tax deduction, 5% on gross. Then there will be 10% withholding tax deduction on the net, which is the filmmaker's money. So at the end of the day, 20% is being, and you do this is deducted on a regular basis, and you're still facing, all of this problem. Then it means that that sector is not being treated nicely.
Okay. At Cannes Festival, Film Festival 2019, you were talking about collaborations with other African countries to be able to promote our movies. How far do you think that can go? You mentioned the Francophone and the Anglophone countries.
Yes. You see, the essence of, I made CEO just to do a test run and see how we can bring the continent together. Because I believe that if the continent is conquered, like if we have buying and distribution, world distribution platform within the continent, you probably don't even need to start looking at America and all of that. That would be bonus. But as we speak, if a film that is entirely made in Ghana by Ghanaian and all of that is brought here, is not going to do well. That is one hurdle that we have crossed as Nigerians. Our films are all over and they do well within the Africa continent. Even it extends to India Ocean and Caribbean, and also within the Africans in diaspora. But if we form an alliance, sort of, just like some of these airlines do, and there's distribution, and then you can have a Nigerian director and have a Cote d'Ivoire producer, and you can even have 4 producers from different countries around the continent. Then you have crew from and just form and do a film that will relate, that the entire continent can relate to. I feel that will solve the distribution problem to a large extent. I have tried it as an individual. We're also working on a film at the moment. It's titled Matigari, which is an adaptation of a book by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, of Kenya. And on that project, I am I'm on board as a producer from Nigeria. We have South Africa, we have Kenya, we have Congo. So this is a sort of collaboration, because once the film is done, when Nigerians sees the name of one of theirs, they would like to buy into it. So these are some of the co-production. But majorly, I think the Nigeria Film Corporation needs to do a whole lot more. Because one of the reasons why the co-production thing in Nigeria has not really worked is because we don't have co-production treaty with a lot of countries. Okay. Now the co-production treaty, if for example you want to do co-production with Germany, there's supposed to be a formal agreement between the two governments. That is the only way you can have smooth process, in making sure the project, happens. But we've been pushing, the practitioners have been pushing to see that this happen, but I don't know why it's taking forever. Last year, the president of France came to Nigeria, and one of the things that that were set in motion was the co-production treaty between Nigeria and France, and I'm hoping that that is signed off soon. But we need to have with other countries. And government has a lot of roles, to play in this regard. All
right, talking about other countries, I read in an article from a Sierra Leone blog describing you as one of Africa's best filmmakers while making a case for your services to be employed in pushing their own movie industry forward. Would you take on this opportunity if it comes up?
Look, I'll take up anything that concerns the continent and beyond. As far as the agenda is right, as far as is for the love of art, and at the same time, capacity building, is involved. It's something I always want to take up. More so, look at Cannes Film Festival, for example. We always complain that we don't have film selected. We don't have indigenous film selected. It's simply because we're not doing co-production. If you go and look at most of the films that are selected in Cannes, they are all films made by, through co-production of different countries. Take for example, if Kunle as an individual, if you have a film and it's such a beautiful film, well made, and then you have another producer from Gabon, who has producer from London, Germany, Belgium, and all of that, and the two of you present to Cannes, they will definitely select that film that has co-production, even if it is not as strong as your film, because you have 4-5 countries lobbying already to have the film selected. So Nigeria government needs to get involved in the politics of film, at the international level. South Africans do that a lot. You go to festivals, you see their pavilion, they create an enabling environment, for the filmmakers to meet and interact with the outside world. I have talked about what we're doing internally and how government has helped, but I think it has to go beyond that. And Nigeria Film and Video Census Board, National Film and Video Census Board, and Nigeria Film Corporation, has a lot role to play, in ensuring that this works. Okay,
talking about recognizing us globally, in 2011, you noted that you prefer indigenous movies to English speaking. You particularly mentioned that is like the only slot we have in the Oscars.
Yes.
Is Mokali going to bring the Oscars to us?
I don't know, but the good thing is Mokali has been selected at the Durban Film Festival, which holds in July. And Durban Film Festival is one platform where Oscars actually pick films. And Mokalik is in competition at the festival. Okay. Will it get to Oscars? I don't know. Like I said, if we have the government pushing, maybe it could. Because the government can actually say, look, as a government, we're going to put our weight behind this film. It doesn't have to be Mokalik. It could be anybody's film. But if government sees a film that they think can actually project the agenda of the country and put their weight behind it, then Oscars is just, because this thing is also man no man sometimes. So we should play in that level.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Afolayan.
You're welcome.
We've been chatting with Mr. Afolayan, popularly known as Kunle Afolayan, of course, and he's broken down the issues Nigerian filmmakers have in the industry. We hope that soon these issues will be treated rightly and a solution will be gotten. My name is Elsie Godwin. Thank you for watching.